Hey everyone, welcome aboard. My name is Amar and I'm at Sales for Life. I'm really excited to be here and I hope you are too. We have a bunch of people just joining the bridge right now, so if you're just listening to this, welcome aboard. You are in the right place at the right time and you are going to learn about LinkedIn Sales Navigator today. So that's the good news. So I'm going to give everyone about 1 more minute to get settled in. If you need to take a quick stretch, go ahead and do that now. Grab a glass of water. Grab your other favorite beverage if you want, and we will get started momentarily, all right? So give us about 60 seconds. We'll wait for everyone to get synced in here, and we'll start soon. Thank you. Hey, folks, we'll start in about 30 more seconds, okay? So 30 more seconds, and we'll start. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started right now. Let's do a quick sound check. If you can hear me, here's what I want you to do. I want you to find the question box on your GoToWebinar control panel right now, and just let me know if the sound quality is okay and if you can hear me. If all systems are go and I get about 5 to 10 nods from you, then I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, fantastic, perfecto. And folks, I have to be on my best behavior now because we are recording. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, here is the plan of attack. Here's the agenda. Very quickly, we're going to go through a few quick items. Some themes are laid out here. I don't expect you to kind of know this or read this, so let's get to the good stuff. I'll go ahead and kick off the introductions. This is Amar Sheth speaking right now. I'm VP of Customer Success at Sales for Life. We are the global authority on the topic of social and digital education. We've had the privilege to train over 80,000 plus people worldwide, and some of our clients are listed on our website, and I won't bore you with those details right now, okay? So I want to first kick off by saying welcome aboard to Christian Obando. Christian, we'd love to hear about you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello, Amar from grey and rainy Amsterdam. So my name is Christian Obando. I'm the director of Inside Sales EMEA at Juniper Networks. I have a team here of 22 sales reps in our Amsterdam hub, covering the enterprise and partially also service provider market in EMEA. So welcome everyone.
Thanks, Christian, for being here. We appreciate it. Cliff, over to you.
Amar, appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Cliff Unger. I am a software sales leader in Denver, Colorado. Most recently led the entire revenue team for an organization by the name of ReadyTalk, and had the luxury of working with the folks on both the account management and the sales side of that organization. And I am taking advantage and enjoying the summer while I go decide what I'm going to take on as my next challenge.
Fantastic. Really appreciate Christian and Cliff being here, and to the gang listening on the call right now. You know, as we were coming up with this webinar for this really important topic, I was mentioning this to the guys earlier, I really wanted to find unique perspectives in the market from many different sources. And I truly believe Cliff and Christian both provide unique perspectives that will absolutely help you today. So I hope you have your pen and pad. If you don't, if you're a little more new school, like some of us are, don't worry, this is being recorded and all of you will get the recording after. But please do take notes on your preferred device today, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first things first, we have a free ebook for you. Wait till the end of the webinar. There will be a bit.ly link. I'll provide that. It'll be on the screen. You can go ahead and get this ebook. It's fantastic in the sense that it really talks about how to take this really important investment that you've made or that you may be considering in making to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and how to make it even better, okay? So Let's talk about that at the end, all right? Now, just to kind of kick off the conversation and frame this, I want to start off by saying this, okay? Social and digital in sales isn't optional, right? Our customers are deciding and telling us where to go. So the data on the screen is there for you to kind of look at. But listen, everyone is talking about this. I'll give you a quick story in case an example. So one of the most respected companies in the world, and Christian is going to laugh when I mention the name, but it's Cisco, right? Which is one of his company's direct competitors. But the outgoing CEO of Cisco, I believe, has said it extremely well, which is that 40% of companies in about 10 years will be dead. And the reason they'll be dead is not because of their refusal to work hard and all of that good stuff. It's because of the refusal to go digital. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that our buyers are going increasingly on this channel, and we need to be there, not to sell them, but sure, selling is the output, but to serve them, which is the job of sales, right? I hope you all agree with that. So I wanted to frame that up, and now I wanted to go directly into the conversation, which is, you know, Sales Navigator by LinkedIn is a great investment. LinkedIn calls this, I believe, one of the best things that they could, you know, use as a tagline. Sales Navigator is LinkedIn for salespeople, short and sweet. And I love the tool myself. But does your team know how to fully leverage this tool to its maximum capacity? So when we interview salespeople about Sales Navigator, here are the top responses for lack of usage. And I wanted to put this up, and I apologize that the slide is wordy, but let me give you a few samples and snippets, right? Very basic. Can someone just tell me how to use LinkedIn effectively? I don't even know what Navigator is. Some people will say, I was just given this tool. No one asked me if I wanted to use it. You know, what do I do? What do I do next? Some other answers that kind of get into the weeds now. I don't know how to use the tool effectively. I've only received a few hours of training. Yet another one. This is a great tool, but I don't know how to use it to sell. How do I use it? Why does it matter to me specifically? How do I open doors? How do I nurture with it more effectively? These are sales questions if you kind of are hearing the theme of it. But as you can see, the tool without any kind of enablement behind it is going to get you a certain result that's probably not the full result that you were maybe wanting in the first place upon your original investment. So that kind of leads me to the first question for the two gentlemen with us today, which is the tool by itself enough? You know, what was the necessary thing that your sales team had to do before adopting tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Cliff, I'd like to start off with you. So what are your thoughts? Like, what did your team at ReadyTalk and other previous places have to do before they really got into the weeds with Sales Navigator?
Yeah, thanks, Amar. I appreciate you sending it my way. I think first and foremost, it is an overall mindset and sort of commitment to social. I think you shared some statistics on one of the previous slides about the world of social that we live in, the tremendous amount of research that buyers can now do before they even communicate with vendors. I'm sure most of the folks that are on the event here have seen some of those statistics. You know, when I started out in my sales universe, 18, 19 years ago, it was a completely different world. The vendors had all the power. We had all the information, we had all the research, all that sort of stuff, and now that power has sort of been pushed to, and it's widely available to our buyers. The necessary things specifically for our sales teams to do before adopting things like Sales Navigator was commit and recognize the importance of social. Not only on the selling side of things, going and using tools like Sales Navigator to identify leads and build contact lists, etc., but just the power of social presence and how you need to really sort of redefine what you look like and establish yourself from a thought leadership standpoint. So for our organization, it was an overall commitment to social, of which Sales Navigator was a part of that.
I love the way you frame that, Cliff. And folks, just one small piece of housekeeping here for you. I apologize, I should have said this earlier. Send your questions in. We're moderating this, so use the question box. You all know how to use it now. Keep sending your questions. I'll take the ones that are pertinent to the conversation at this moment in time, and we'll get our guests to kind of answer and sound off on those, okay? Christian, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Amar. So what I believe is, or what was very crucial in my opinion was to make the team understanding actually the purpose of social selling, right? So what do we as a team and as a sales organization also want to achieve by implementing social selling? Why social selling can be a very powerful additive to our existing sales and communication tools? And what are actually the benefits of social selling? How can social selling help my sales guys to be even more successful? So in the first instance, it was really about getting the buy-in from the sales guys. And another very important step was certainly the 10 weeks curriculum with Sales for Life. And many organizations, actually including ourselves, they make the mistake and they organize maybe a half-day workshop about social selling or a full day, and hope that afterwards the sales force is able to utilize all the tools, tricks, and techniques which are actually necessary to succeed in social selling. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. I can absolutely guarantee you, I can promise you that you won't be successful if you have a half-day workshop or maybe a few hours, and then hope actually that your sales force is able to utilize it in an effective way. So it's an absolute must that you have a structured approach.
Christian, I appreciate your thoughts. And so folks, I'm just going to draw some commonalities between the answers here. From what we've heard from Cliff and from Christian is essentially, I guess the best word to describe it is mindset, right? If you are going to go into a social selling mindset, if you feel, and only you in your leadership role, in your organization role, whatever role you play, will decide if social is right for you. I think you have to determine if the market data applies to you, but ultimately, if you are determined that it does, then you have to get the mindset right. And I fully agree and concur with both the gentlemen, because ultimately, what's social about? What's the phone about? What's email about? All of these are essentially just tools. Okay, so that being said, I want to fast forward here to the second question here. So just to set the context right, there's internal data that we found at Sales for Life. When we actually go deep into the weeds, we found that less than 5% of the sales team that has Sales Navigator actually sends 2/3 of all InMails. Just internalize that data for a minute. And I know it sounds negative right at the cover, but think about the massive hidden opportunity for you here. So that brings me to my question, which is, Cliff and Christian, we'll start with you this time. What were some challenges your sales team had initially when you got Navigator? Because I'm sure that when you bought it, you probably had challenges of this nature as well.
No, absolutely, Amar. So I guess the team was probably overwhelmed by the sheer endless functions and features of Sales Navigator. They thought, wow, what a cool tool, without actually knowing how to use it in an effective way. And it's a little bit like doing sports. How many of you had probably once in your life the inspiration to bring your body in shape, gain some muscles, maybe get a six-pack, or just improve your overall physical condition, right? Probably the first thing you did, you bought the latest and coolest trainers from Nike, maybe a cool fancy jersey and some sports watch. And afterwards, you started to do something. You probably went to the gym without really knowing how to train, how often you should train, how you can utilize certain techniques, what are the tools that actually help you to succeed. And this is exactly what we experienced with our sales team when we got the Sales Navigator license for the very first time. We didn't have any training. We were totally overwhelmed. We were perfectly equipped, but actually we didn't really know how to use the equipment. And that was probably the biggest challenge we faced.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Christian. Thank you. Cliff, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would share that I think our experience was probably, parallel to what Christian described. I would think about it in much that same way, and then I'd probably add a little bit more color from our perspective. For us, it was sort of, it required discipline. I think Christian hit the nail on the head with like, hey, you get into this thing, and if you don't properly know how to use it, it's sexy and it's new and it's shiny, and I can go in and kind of dive in surface level, create some queries, maybe put some Boolean logic in there, and I go find 5 or 10 new contacts, right, that are in my territory or my target segment or the types of folks that I think I can help. but you don't create rigor around it. So we, you know, the word I would use is, I think when we first got into to Navigator, we flirted with it. You know, our team, some were better than others, and we tried to create discipline around blocking and creating, you know, using social as sort of the beginning part of each day, or different times throughout the day. But with regard to each individual tool, we had a tendency to go flirt with it. Spend 20 minutes on it in the morning, find 3 or 4 contacts, cool, maybe send some in-mails. It wasn't until, quite honestly, we created some accountability with the team and expectations for the investments we had in tools like this, that we saw usage and the effectiveness of it go up. But specifically to the question, initially we flirted with it, we got some value out of it, but we absolutely didn't completely capitalize on it.
So basically, you guys are both saying that it's about scratching the tip of the iceberg without really delving in. You know, here's what I'd like to add. And again, folks, yes, the answer is biased, right? But just from the observations that we have in the market, what I can tell you is this. You know, Navigator is a fantastic tool. It's a necessary tool. You will absolutely hyper accelerate results with, you know, a research and communication tool like it. But you need it integrated into your overall sales strategy. You can't just look at Navigator as a single silo on its own. It has to work in tandem, in conjunction with your entire tech stack, and you have to have it integrated into your playbook. You know, how many sales motions are you doing by which job function? And Navigator has a certain role to play in those playbooks and motions. Now, there's a question that's come in from Sunny here, and I wanted to ask this because I think it's really important. You know, what is the benefit of using Inmail by LinkedIn versus a regular targeted email, keeping in mind that building common ground or relevant news in emailing or contacting? Christian, what are your thoughts on that? What's the key difference between a targeted Inmail versus a targeted email?
Well, first of all, emails, everyone gets hundreds, thousands of emails, right, on a daily basis. And it's an absolute overkill of emails. And there are many emails you don't even open, you just ignore, and you don't respond to them. With an email, it's a more discreet way. First of all, you can also gain some insights before you reach out to a customer. You start engaging with the customer, and you can send very specific emails to customers, targeting specific topics, challenges, and by doing this, you can increase your chances to be successful and get actually a response from the customer.
Cliff, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll briefly add. I think all of that, and there is still an allure, at least for me personally, and I know a lot of the folks that we collectively as an industry of salespeople are selling to and targeting, there is still an allure and an attraction to responding to a notification on my phone on the LinkedIn logo. Or when I happen to load LinkedIn in the morning, or by several times per week or several times per day, the red dot still has an attraction for us. I'm sure at some point we'll all get fatigue over that as well, but there's still an attraction for that. And I am drawn to looking at every notification update, every messaging update, every connection request. And I think a lot of our buyers still operate in that sort of mentality. And then additionally, I think the opportunity to in-mail folks for whom you don't completely have a profile and don't have all of their contact information, including email, even though a lot of us know the tips and tricks and kind of the right ways to figure out the nomenclature per company, the ability to send that outside of your network is still a huge benefit.
Yeah, I fully agree. So Christian and Cliff, I'm going to basically add some of my color to this and also kind of get into a question that's just come in from Ben, okay? So Ben asked the following. Let me ask his question, and then I'll kind of get into my commentary, because I think the original question from Sunny and this one from Ben are kind of intricately tied together. So Ben asked, do you feel like the value of in-mails has been diluted at all by the increase in spam, abuse, and direct sales use of in-mail as a channel? So here's what I would say, Ben. The answer is yes, it has. I don't think it's been diluted though, Ben. What I do feel is this. I think social selling is not about just LinkedIn. Okay, so I want to say that again. Social selling is not just about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a part of social selling, right? It's part of the ecosystem of social selling. Why am I saying this, and why does it matter? I think that because social selling is bigger, I think that you can send a targeted email and it does work. The key here is not InMail or email to the large part. It really is your ability as a sales professional to craft a coherent message that's different, that's timed well, that shows that person that you understand their role or their challenges or whatever objectives it is you're trying to cover. So I do differ a little bit with Christian and Cliff on that, but I definitely agree that given the nascent state of where we are with LinkedIn adoption, think about it. It's a brand new platform. Less than 1 in 7, about 1 in 7 people in the world in sales are kind of on LinkedIn, and it's growing fast though. But there is a bit of a charm factor when you get something that you're not used to. So I think it's all of the above, and I hope the questions are kind of helping people to frame their thoughts correctly. I want to kind of move to the next question here. So far, I want to just say I hope everyone is enjoying this presentation, this webinar, and I hope that this is kind of shedding some light on what you're trying to achieve for your social selling investments. So next question is this. If you look at LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you guys have talked about the half capacity of it, but what did you do specifically? And Christian and Cliff, if possible, I don't want you to kind of spill the beans, but if possible, talk about what you did tactically to make your Navigator investment a little more efficient. Christian,
I can start. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar already, it's very important, it's crucial that you have a clear idea about the usage of social selling. Why actually do you want to implement social selling and want your sales force to use it on a daily basis? In our case, we define social selling, first of all, as a prospecting, as a lead generation and sales engagement tool. And as a first step, we made sure that we enable the team by certifying all of our sales guys, including the management, in social selling, right? And during this 10 weeks curriculum, what I just mentioned, actually you, Amar, you showed us all the tricks and tips about how to use Sales Navigator in an efficient way, how to do prospecting, how to educate potential customers with relevant content, how to follow, for example, potential customers and engage with them at an early stage of the sales process, how to spot potential sales opportunities, and the list goes on. So long story short, we made sure that our sales guys really understand how to apply social selling techniques, mainly with Sales Navigator. And once we educated the team and also equipped them with all different kind of social selling tools, we started to make social selling a habit. And I believe this is probably the most important part of making social selling a success. It will only work if you adopt it in your daily schedule, right? It will not work if you do it randomly. If you post a few things here and there, if you maybe share some articles, if you like some posts, it's not gonna work. I can absolutely promise you. And
so
yeah.
I was just gonna say it's just like cold calling, right? You can't make 5 calls a day and hoping that they work.
Correct.
You have to do this routinely and repeatedly.
Absolutely, you need to do it in a routine, and you need to make sure that everyone adopts it in their daily schedule. And what helped us, actually our team, very much, we started to follow the so-called feed routine. So finding up to 3 buyers per day and socially surround them, and educate your network with relevant pieces of content every single day, and engage in 3 socially driven conversations every single day. And last but not least, also develop your network by adding 3 new connections per day. So it was so important that people got into a certain rhythm and used this routine on a daily basis, because only then they started to see success, which motivated them to continue this journey. And so that was probably the most critical part in the whole journey, I would say.
Yeah, good observations. Thanks, Christian. Cliff, what do you think? What do you think you had to do to make this investment more efficient? You know, yield is such an important part of a leader's role. We're all trying to get more yield out of an existing investment. What did you do?
Yeah, discipline is a big part of it. You could use the term rigor. I think Christian described that pretty well. We had the good fortune of a sales environment across our team of being extremely helpful to one another. And when we brought new tools in like Sales Navigator, it was a benefit for us to have that sort of mentality. And what I mean by that was we expected or had the good benefit of our team members sharing the things that they would learn. You know, even with as much training as any of us might have on a given platform, there's nuance and there's tweaks and changes. And given that we might be, the folks on our team might be selling to different geographies or have, in some cases, particularly at ReadyTalk, we sold to multiple different buyer personas. We're still selling the same product. And so when somebody would figure out a way to really optimize a Boolean search string and figure out the right people to target, we could amplify that by sharing it with the team. When somebody else figured out how to create new specific tags to use that feature in there that were very specific and related to our individual sales process, we amplified that by having everybody with the ability to adopt some of that customization, for lack of a better way to put it. I think there's the rigor part of it, but then I also think there's a big collaboration part of it across your team. And whether it's a small team and the collaboration is between yourself as a sales leader or a sales enablement leader and the handful of reps you have, or it's a large organization, right, with 100, 200, 300 sales reps or sales executives, you need to find ways to amplify the learnings and make it an iterative process.
Yeah, Cliff, that is a really, really good way to look at it. And I think, once again, folks who are on the line listening here, I think the core message from both of our leaders today is it's collaboration. And specifically with Cliff's answer, which I love, is amplify and scale the results. If there is you do this with any other sales initiative, right? This is not specifically just for social selling, but take some of your old, very well-known and common sense approaches that are tried and true and apply them to social. Like Cliff just mentioned that if one individual on your team is doing, setting up a search, for instance, in a certain way that seems to have a really good result, why not share that with the rest of the team? Why not, if you're getting, as a sales leader, if you're getting a result out of one rep, imagine getting them out of 20, 30, 50 reps at scale. So I think this is a very, very critical point. I want to slightly switch the conversation a little bit. So it's still about Sales Navigator, but it's broader. It's about LinkedIn in general. It's about social in general. And quite frankly, it's on your screen now. It's about presence, right? So here's the question, right? We all know that social media profiles matter because it's how people, i.e. buyers, will interact with you as a seller. So Christian, maybe I'll start with you right now. Before you guys kind of took social seriously, describe to me the before state, because that's what I'm interested in right now. Describe the before state of people's profiles and how that compares to today at present.
Well, before we really introduced social selling and started to use Sales Navigator in a proper way, I would say most of the profiles, they were more like recruiter style resumes. That's resumes. That's probably how I would summarize or explain most of the profiles in my team. So what you found was basically the history, the experience of someone, and maybe some recommendations. But that's it, right? There was nothing about the company, about our services, our products, how we can help, and so on.
Good, Christian. Cliff, what was the situation? What was the state of union before Navigator?
Yeah, we were guilty of all the things you're probably going to go and elaborate on, myself included. We looked like salespeople. It was a resume. It was, I'd like to think, not everyone on the team was actively trying to go find another job, but that's kind of what the traditional LinkedIn profile looks like. It's your accomplishments. It's how great you are at closing business, which really does little to help your buyers. They don't really care that you're going to hold a nice conversation with them, or maybe you're a closer, or you're a business development rep and how many opportunities you created. what they care about is how you're going to help them, right? And I don't recall who it was that first probably said, the next time somebody asks you what you do, turn that question mentally in your head to as if somebody asked you how you help people. I think that's a really important way to think about things. But our profiles looked like salespeople, and I would say now the sales team, they look like thought leaders and subject matter experts for whatever given industry they either are still in, where we work together, or the places that they moved on.
Good insight. Definitely good insight. I want to do a quick check here. We're at the end mark here, folks, but we are going to continue. As is typical for a lot of these webinars, the majority of you are still with us. So listen, we're just going to keep talking. If you can hang around, please do so. If you need to be at another meeting, you can do that as well. And remember, you will get the recording. So I want to respect your time, but we are definitely going to continue live here. So I want to kind of just change the conversation slightly, and I want to go into the proper solution side, because Navigator is a product. You can enable it with training and the right mindset, as we all know, but what's the output? So here is the last question of the day, and I really want to spend some time here. The CEB has done a tremendous amount of research on this, where they found that most buyers, most customers are looking for you to tell them something new about their business. I'll tell you a short little analogy, if I may. Jeff Bezos, who's the leader of Amazon, frequently says, it's not the customer's job to figure out what innovation they need. They're relying on us as the vendor, as the company of service, to really figure out that innovation for them, right? So it's not just us asking the customers constantly, hey, what do you need? How can we make it better? That's important. Don't get me wrong, it should be done. But really, this is about an innovative mindset. Now, that being said, Cliff, I want to start with you this time. What did your sales team do? And again, please be tactical as much as you'd like on creating urgency and using data from LinkedIn Sales Navigator and other sources to find a beneficial solution or paint a positive picture of your solution.
Yeah, I would say it was probably two primary things, and I'll speak tactically about both of those. The first was leverage Sales Navigator specifically to find more of the right people based on sort of our ideal customer profile. Those profiles, those titles, the types of companies we knew we could help. And tactically, it was perfecting our search approach, being able to search at scale, finding and looking at and identifying the appropriate verbiage. I think one of the things I learned from you personally, Amar, was to go look at your buyer's profile and go search for the terminology that they use in their own profile rather than what you get from your marketing team, right? Don't talk about scaling organizations if what your specific buyer says that they build sales teams, as an example, if you're selling to a sales buyer, right? So dialing in on verbiage, communicating the way that people talk about themselves was huge for us. And then the other thing, which I know is a big part of modern social selling philosophy, is content sharing. The best way to add value, provide data, illustrate solutions is sharing content, not only about your own product or platform, but about the problems that your buyers are faced with. And when we were able to get our team mentally to understand and commit to the content sharing piece of things, I think overall, we certainly looked much more like solution providers, and we looked a lot more like givers. And I think that's an important word. We had a sales forum meeting here in Denver last night, and the presenter, one of the most relevant things she said to a group, 40 or 50 salespeople was, be a giver. And it may not come back to you in 6 hours or 6 days or 6 weeks. Most of us probably don't have the luxury, if you will, of a one-day close or one-day transaction cycle. But if you mentally consider yourself as a salesperson, as a giver, and you give, you will get in return. And that was huge. That was a huge mental shift for us from a content and sort of helpfulness standpoint.
I love that. Let me actually use that as a transition, and hopefully this helps Christian. Folks, before this call started, the three of us were collaborating just a few minutes prior, and Christian shared something powerful with me, which is, after months of trying to go after a specific prospect, nurturing them with all the channels, right? Because sales is an omni-channel approach, as we all know, but social was able to kind of tilt it in the favor of his team. So Christian, do you want to just talk about this mindset of giving and providing beneficial solutions, and then maybe if you feel comfortable talking about, your team closing an incredibly large deal because of social?
Yeah, sure. So what I like about social selling specifically is that you can really follow existing or new customers in a, I would say, discreet way and learn about them, right? You can learn about the latest, inventions, acquisitions, product releases, or employees, and you can identify sales opportunities based on specific information they share, for example, online. And to give you a real life example, a few months ago, one of our sales reps in my team, he read an article in LinkedIn which was posted by one of the prospects he was following through Sales Navigator. And it was about an upcoming acquisition of the company. So their company actually purchased another company with multiple branches. And my employee reached out to this prospect and asked for an appointment where he could pitch to this prospect how our company, so how Juniper can help organizations to consolidate and automate multiple data centers. So that was about the solutions. And the customer didn't have any clue about this possibility, right? And without going too much into detail and telling the whole story, we don't have enough time for this, but we educated this prospect on how to consolidate multiple data centers in a very efficient way and showed him possible solutions he was not aware of. And in the end, we managed to win this deal, this large deal for our company, a deal we would have probably never ever identified without utilizing social selling. So this was, probably the most attractive and exciting win so far. And again, this was truly because of social selling.
I love it. I love it. Listen, folks, we're going to wrap up here. And just before we do, I want to just get one question in. So this question is from Jay. Christian, I want you to talk about this because I know your sales force and I know the specifics of your sales force and how kind of complex your, you guys target multiple kind of markets, right? So this question is from Jay, and it's the following. If there's a team that serves clients in 4 different industries with different products in each of those industries, how can you adapt Sales Navigator to that kind of mix? Christian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is something we face basically on a daily basis. The reason is, first of all, we have a very big geography with EMEA, but we also sell different solutions and we also sell into various verticals. I have teams that focus more on banking or maybe service provider. Other teams focus maybe on retail, manufacturing, and so on. So in the end, I guess what is important is that every single individual, first of all, builds his or her own brand in social, in Sales Navigator, social selling, and they target specifically their customer base, their verticals with specific solutions. So you can't apply the same for the whole sales force, for the whole team, and do basically the same with all the customers. So you need to be specific, the way how you surround your customers, what kind of content you are choosing and sharing with your prospects. That can be very targeted, but it's, in my opinion, a very efficient way to do it socially, because you can reach out, very quickly to all different kind of individuals and targets. Amar?
Sorry about that. Cliff, I was just asking you, how would you specifically handle that mix around multiple industries, multiple products?
Great question. We did deal with that to some degree. Industry, probably less specifically, but while we sold a single platform, its use case was very specific across, as I think I mentioned earlier, different buyer personas. I think the first thing you do is you find the commonality, right? And with Sales Navigator, sure, but I think across social, there's a lot of commonality in just the best practices part of things. The content sharing, the rigor around committing to social, the looking like a trusted advisor and thought leader, all of that sort of stuff can be common regardless of what buyer persona you're selling to, industry, region, etc. I think more specifically, for me, it's taking the very same approach that I shared earlier, which is whether it's the same in vanilla across your entire sales org, or you have different regions, different products, different solutions. You take those subsets of your team and make sure that they are driving conversations amongst themselves so that you can leverage best practices. You might have one set of sales folks that are selling to a technical buyer and they're doing different types of searches than another set of sales folks that are selling to a line of business buyer. Make sure they're comparing and perfecting, and again, to use the same word, amplifying all the effort that's taking place. But there's nothing that precludes you within Sales Navigator to still take advantage of all of the scale and capacity that it offers and the rich feature set and all of those sorts of things. I think you just become more deliberate about having the right people doing the right things, amongst their peers.
I like it. Gentlemen, really want to thank both of you for your time. Let's kind of just go into wrap up. Let's talk about key takeaways. So Christian, what's one final point that you'd like everyone to walk away with when it comes to kind of unlocking Sales Navigator investment?
Wow, that's a difficult one. There's probably more than one. I will keep it short, but first of all, believe in it. Be convinced that social selling can be really helpful for your company. If it's not the case, then don't even start with it. And when you believe in it, when you're convinced, when you are convinced of it, make sure that you make it also a habit, that you adopt it in your daily routine, that everyone uses it on a ideally daily basis. That's what I would say is a key takeaway.
Excellent. Cliff, how about one final kind of point from you? I know one is hard, but how would you sum it up?
I would say a key takeaway with regard to Sales Navigator is that it is only part of the puzzle. It is a powerful part of the puzzle, but we, as sales leaders, we should be cognizant that Sales Navigator is not a silver bullet. Used in collaboration with all of the other things that modern sales orgs should be doing in social, it's an extremely powerful tool. But it's not necessarily, I don't work for LinkedIn, so I'm happy to say this. You're not going to maximize your investment in Sales Navigator if you don't commit to all of the other parts of a major social selling commitment. Using Sales Navigator, or as I used the phrase earlier, flirting with it, you'll get some value. You'll find the occasional contact. You might uncover an opportunity, but you're not going to get what you're paying for unless it's part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, good messages, guys. And folks, we're basically going to round out the conversation here. I hope you've really enjoyed this. If you'd like to stick around, please do. You can start throwing questions at us right now, and I can start going at them. There's the link, as I promised you in the earlier part of the webinar. That's the link to the free ebook around how to unlock LinkedIn Sales Navigator investment. So go ahead and just kind of take note of that. You can go to that website now or later at your convenience. And what I'm going to do right now is just go into the question box and start looking at what kind of questions are coming in. Okay, question from Igor. I hope I pronounced that right, Igor. Apologies if I have not. Question for both Christian and Cliff. And it's kind of general, but it kind of teases on the topic we covered today, which is, would you rather get an Inmail, email, or a phone call to ask for a possible talk about our product?
I'll start. And as cliche as it might sound, I think the answer is all of the above. Again, and Amar, I think after we answered a related question of this nature earlier, you wrapped that up by saying, hey, whether it's Inmail or email, again, that's only one part of the selling process. For me personally, I don't pick up my phone that often, but when it rings, I'm impressed because nobody really calls anymore. And when I get a voicemail, I listen to them. Now, your voicemail needs to be concise and formatted the right way, just like an Inmail or an email. But I think phone is still a differentiator, if I'm being honest.
It certainly is, no question about that. Christian, how would you take that one on? Email, phone, or Inmail, or all of the above?
I almost agree with Cliff. I wouldn't really mind whether it's an email or Inmail, but I would prefer these two over a phone call, because a phone call, if I get it, I don't have any chance to maybe prepare myself or get some insights about the person who's calling me and maybe wants to sell me something. So I definitely prefer to get an Inmail or email.
Great one, and I hope everyone caught the nuance of what Christian was trying to say there. Now, Christian is a leader. He is prospected every single day. I know for a fact, Christian, that you're being prospected on LinkedIn and all the other channels. So keep that in mind, that when you are, prospecting another leader in an organization, they too want to research you. I hope you got that nuance from Christian's answer. And Cliff kind of has not talked about it today, but I know he's told me many times before that as leaders, the onus is also on us to research the people that are trying to sell us. So if that's the case from our end, will that be the case from your buyer's end, right? Food for thought.
The first. Yeah, sorry, Amar. I was just going to say that's the first thing I do when I get an email or an Inmail. Obviously, that's easy, or a voice note. Literally, the first thing I do is go see what I can find out about that person.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question from Dave. Unfortunately, we are truly out of time. Dave, I hate to cut that question off, but Dave, I'm going to message you my email, and I'm happy to answer that question for you afterwards. Okay, so stay on the line, Dave, for that. And folks, remember, we're always here to help. If you need any insights, any questions, if you have any challenges, discussions, feedback, any kind of commentary, we're more than happy to listen. Contact us on LinkedIn. You know where to find us. You know what we look like. And send us an invite, and we'll be happy to connect and help out as best we can. I really want to thank Cliff and Christian for their time and their expertise. And gentlemen, thanks for joining us and providing your insights today.
Thank you, Amar. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure over here as well. Thanks, everybody, for the attendance. It's been a great conversation.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful and positive day. Amar signing out here at Sales for Life, and we will talk soon. All the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.